kick-started earlier, and then the recording is always available online, so people can listen to it without a problem. So no particular problems there. Let's see. Okay. Right. Now, first of all, we're on Pasha's with the Var, which is the first chapter of Numbers. Hosea chapter 1 is going to be the Haftarah portion, verses 10 to chapter 2, verses 20, etc. This session I want to make it more a practical session than just a theoretical session, and I want to encourage you to continue to practice things that you've been told, continues to practice Torah, and I want to explain what Torah is in a moment. But before I do that, you know that around the corner there's going to be the festival of Feast of Weeks, which the Christians label Pentecost. We call it the Feast of Weeks, and it is the festival at which the Torah was given to the children of Israel on Mount Sinai. So it's a very important festival for us. A number of things I'll encourage you on. Number one, that you do not come empty-handed on a festival. You always send an offering to the Kohen in the gate. That would be myself at this point. Number two, you should all be paying your tithes regularly. If you're not, you should look at yourself, because one of the things that will hinder your growth is when you don't pay your tithes and you don't take out the Zadaqah, what we call the offering, like charitable offering, which goes to, again, the Kohanim, the priesthood. That again would be me here, because what we do with the Zadaqah, the tithe belongs to the Kohen. The Zadaqah, the charitable offering, what happens with that is that can be utilized in any number of ways by the Kohanim to, if they decided to help. There is a special offering for widows and orphans as well, but we don't say to people every time to give to widows and orphans. But so what the Kohanim do is they use the car, they use that to help those kind of people when they come into their Sophia. Now, clearly, we're in the diaspora, we're in the wilderness, and the book of the Torah is also about wilderness. Vedavad, typically it's translated as wilderness, typically speaking. So it's very important to understand that in order to come out of the wilderness, you see, these, I call them placeholders. All these names in the Bible, like Genesis, Bereshit, in the beginning. Then you have Exodus, Shemoth, which is the going out. Then you have the book of Leviticus, Vayikra. All these, what you got to understand, that they were given to the children of Israel. But more so, how do we apply them today? All the laws remain intact. You see, a lot of people think that just because we're not in the land, the laws don't apply. There are certain laws that don't apply to any of you anyhow. Let's say the law that applies to the priesthood, it doesn't apply to any of you unless you're a priest, and you have to be born a priest. You're not, it's not a conversion into a priest. You have to actually be born. It's not like a Catholic priest or a Christian, a pastor or a bishop. In ourselves, we have to be born as a Kohen. Kohen, only those people can be Kohen. There are two types of Kohen. One are the sons of Aaron, which would be me, classified as one. Then there will be those that are from the tribe of Levi. So they can be Kohen, but they are not the Kohen that can serve more than 51 years of their life. They have to retire at 51. But the sons of Aaron have no retirement, so they continue to the very end of their life. That's the difference between the two Kohanim. And the second Kohanim, which is the Levites, they can't start their jobs either until they're around 30 years old. So there is a limit on when they can start to take up service and when they finish. So these are not just things written in a vacuum. These things have meanings behind it, and as I explained, these are placeholders. So at every festival, our people bring offerings. They bring a set of tithe, In the old days, they brought their crops, they brought their cattle. The firstborn was always given to the Kohen. Remember this: firstborn cattle, firstborn lamb, firstborn goat, camel, donkey, whatever animals that our people kept, they would always give, the first one would go to the priesthood, number one, the official priesthood that existed alongside our people. And then also it meant that when if you make your own bread, you would also take out a portion for the priest. Now, you might say, well, how am I going to send it to the priest if it's thousands of miles away or hundreds of miles away? And what's the use of sending flour? That's F-L-O-U-R, that you cook with. Very simple. What you do is, this is a practice that all of our families do that are part of Israel. What they do is they do their bread dough, and then they take about the size of a date or an olive. They take the size of an olive and they burn it on the stove, and then they bury it in the backyard. That is the portion that belongs to me, the Kohanim, and you're supposed to do that as part of Torah, practicality-wise. Now, there are probably a number of benefits that, because to the modern person, well, what does this all mean? Is it all mumbo-jumbo or hocus-pocus? No, it actually has meaning behind it. These are all practical things that we do which bring in abundance to our homes. And when we don't do them, when we say, I'm not going to tithe because why should I, or I've got to pay a bill first and I don't care, I'll do that later. See, we have people like that in our midst today. And when we have those people, what happens, just as they withhold from God, God withholds from them. It works backwards. And if they give, then God gives them. And so God can only multiply something. Like, if you gave a coin, let's say $1 was a coin, and you gave a coin, God can multiply that coin. But if you gave nothing, nothing times nothing equals nothing. So a lot of people that I witness and I see and I observe that are struggling today are those kind of people that actually decided, I'm going to do it for myself, and I'm not going to do nothing for no one else, and I'm not giving to God, and I'll keep everything for myself. Those kind of people are the ones that don't get anywhere in life, because they have forgotten the principle. What the Torah teaches you are principles of life, and it's a practice. It's not, don't see it as just a ritual, just taking a little bit dough out and burning it and plowing it in the ground. Don't take that as just a nonsensical ritual. It's not a ritual. It's actually a method that the Torah teaches us that we have to practice in order to benefit our homes. Now, think about it this way. If you, like for instance, if you take, I diffuse a lot of, scented oils over here. I've got different ones, different oils sitting on my table. I've got sandalwood oil, I've got pomegranate, and I've got other ones as well, like frankincense, myrrh, and you name it, I've got it over here particularly, jasmine and whatnot, cypress and everything else. So what's the purpose of all these oils? You might wonder, well, what's the point of burning, for instance, frankincense oil? Why bother? Then again it comes down to the environment that you live in. So we live in homes or caravans or makeshift homes, tents maybe, but the whole purpose behind these things is that these are methods that bring in, again, blessings, abundance, good health, all of those things into your life. And if you can go without practice. Of course, somebody can say, I don't want to do it, and sure, that's their choice not to do it. But actually, these whole things have a effect on your life and on your home. So let me explain further. This is why I say that don't just shrug it up as nonsense or mumbo-jumbo, because it's not mumbo-jumbo. I have been doing this for more than 20 years of my life, and I can tell you things that you'll be surprised about. When I was 13 years old, I knew about the fact that God is not in some, man-made or when I say man-made heaven, I meant the church created heaven or the heaven of religious people. I knew that at 13 that God didn't live in any such place, that God was able to reach out, and God was able to reach out from eternity and reach us, mere mortals. He was able to do that. I had that belief from 13. It's not like I had that belief at 21 or something. I had that belief at 13, and I knew that there was a method to it. But at that point in life, at 13, I didn't know what is the method. So that is what I went after, to search and find out what is the method to bring God into our reality. So today we have arrived at that method, how to bring God into our reality. And everybody that puts a belief in the God of eternity, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as he declares himself, or as a God of Israel, or as other titles that God uses, Hashem, Adonai, etc., Elohim, El, these are all titles, and these are all placeholders that God uses to demonstrate His power. And the problem is this, that the problem is, and I will tell you the problem in simple words, that if you claim, and I go over this world over, and I'm talking about America, I can tell you England, I can tell you France, I can tell you Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka, Israel, I can tell you every country of the world, USA, everywhere people make all sorts of ludicrous claims like, oh, I'm keeping the Torah. That to me is a ludicrous claim. Kept also by Jews as well, by the way. Ashkenazi Jews also make this ludicrous claim because they say it, but in effect they are not. Many of these people that make such claims do not actually know even what are the principles of the Torah, because they don't practice the principles. So Ashkenazi Jews, they might say that we are Torah keepers, but are they? Really, you all know that they practice the Talmud. Well, is the Talmud Torah? And you will know that Talmud is not a holy book. These are books, these are opinions of rabbis. Maybe 1,000 rabbis gave opinions that put in the Talmud, based, against different verses of the Torah or of the prophets. So the point being that just to say I'm in the Torah, I belong to this group in the East, and these are a bunch of guys who claim that they're in the Torah as well. And I've tried to get through to them a couple of times, explaining that Torah is not just wake up in the morning and pray and then go about your day and keep the Sabbath on Saturday and then keep the festivals. That is not Torah, by the way, because Torah is much more than that. Torah is the execution of the principles that are presented in the first 5 books of Moses. That's what Torah is. Question is, are you executing those principles? Okay, so Sabbath is one principle. Sabbath is one principle. Festivals are another principle. Then there is the tithing. Are you practicing tithing? I can guarantee you that 9 times out of 10, some of you are not even thinking about tithing, let alone practicing it. So there are people that come into this room, they come like a monkey, and I'm not using monkey in a derogatory way, or I could even say a frog. They come in as a frog and they'll hop in and hop out. That's why I use the monkey example, because monkeys, they hop from tree to tree, and frogs, they hop from leaf to leaf. So, either an analogy of a monkey or a frog, you hop from one room to the other. And what do you get out of that? Nothing. It's just, what you do every day of your life, and you get nowhere with that. And, you come to a certain age, I don't know, give and take, 60 years old. Let's say you become 60 years old, and suddenly you realize, you know what, I've been doing this for 35, 40 years of my life, hopping like a frog, and I got nowhere in my life. That would be a sad commentary of anybody who's behaving like that, hopping, whether you're hopping like a frog, from religion to religion, could be 1 minute you're in one denomination of Christianity, 1 minute you're a Baptist, then next week, 2 weeks later, or 2 months later, you decided you want to join the Methodist, then 3 months later or 2 years later, you decided you want to be a Pentecostal. So you're again hopping like a frog. But you did not get it. This is my point of Torah. My point of Torah is not to say that the Jews not keeping a form of Torah, they're keeping rabbinic opinions, and they call that Torah. Or they're keeping, that person that existed in the first century, Ben Zakkai, the son of Ben Zakkai, Yochanan Ben Zakkai, John Ben Zakkai, that's basically his English name. They're keeping principles that he taught. What are they to do with Torah? What did Jesus say to his mother? Woman, what am I to do with you? Try to understand what the principles are. And if you don't get the principles, then learn the principles. So I at a very young age started to question so-called religious principles around me. Until 13, I was very, adamant that God is in none of these places. God is not in a mosque, God doesn't live in a church, and God definitely doesn't live in Jerusalem where they keep telling you. He don't live in Jerusalem either, behind that, Roman wall where they had all sorts of promiscuity, all sorts of promiscuous acts and other acts going on, I should say debauchery. Do you seriously think that God lived in that place where there was debauchery going on? It was a Roman fort where Romans did all sorts of debauchery. So again, it's a belief system. Jews believe, Christians believe that if they go to the Western Wall and they plug a little piece of paper in there or they shackle, if the Jews believe they shackle over there, that God's going to listen to them. That's a total baloney, by the way. And no modern Jew, and I can tell you this, that no modern Jew today in America is going to believe that. Because they already know that that's not true. They already know that. You see, so placeholders, you cannot make placeholders and make something else out of them. Let me give you a simple example. Saudi Arabia, with the coronavirus, they had to shut down everybody coming in. They had to shut down all the planes. They were coming into the country for pilgrimage, and millions of people went there. And I'm going to say the same thing was happening with Israel. Millions of Christians were going into do their pilgrimage at the holy sites, what they claim, the Catholic sites and the Christian sites. And then what happened? Israel put a stop to it. Israel said, no, none of you can come in. First Israel said, if you can self-quarantine for 14, 15 days, you can come in. Then they said, no, you're not allowed to come in unless you're a Jew or a person, non-Jew, living in the country as a resident, legal resident, you're not allowed to come in. So they put a stop to it. Saudi Arabia put a stop to it. So their holy site, I looked at it, there were a few people, because they circumambulate around the Kaaba, in Mecca, only a few people doing it. And then other people in the Muslim world had written prophecies, ages ago, saying that when the pilgrimage stops in Mecca, that'll be the end of the world. Well, guess what? The end of the world didn't come, although circumambulation stopped. Muslims were not allowed to go to Mecca. Even the Muslim mosques, there's about 50,000 mosques in Pakistan, and maybe more than 50,000 in India. Guess what? All the mosques were shut down. The people were not allowed to go to the mosque. So the only person who could go to the mosque was the cleric who would do the prayers through the speakers. And the same way, churches were shut down, synagogues were shut down. But did the world stop? Did everybody say, let me get up, the world is now stopped, or the hell is here, or, we're in tribulation? Because the Christians were teaching tribulation for, I can tell you for the best part of 20 years, previous 20 years of my life, I heard Christians teach tribulation. And I heard it from many people, and I heard it from pastors, and I saw programs on TV flicking through channels, pastors talking about it, pre-tribulation rapture. But did the people get raptured up? I don't think so. Did we see tribulation? So what I was saying to somebody was that today, what we saw, the coronavirus, that's a Christian's biggest effort. You should say the Christians are the biggest guilty party of bringing coronavirus to the world. Why? Because they were fear-mongering. They were teaching people fear. Oh, tribulation's coming. Oh, it's going to be a terrible time of the earth. And guess who's the one the most complaining and moaning about it today? Christians, of course. Who else? So, as you know, our president announced recently that churches should be open and allowed to be open this weekend, the Memorial Weekend, the bank holiday weekend, and governors cannot stop churches from opening, etc. So this country is at a civil war. Protests are happening in Wisconsin, protests are happening in Texas and other places of this country alone. And there's probably other countries as well that protests are happening. So my point is what? My point is this. You know, this whole corona business, you know, somebody might say China gave it to us. Somebody might say the CIA has a hand in it. Others might say that China made this as a bioweapon to reduce population. Whatever. Bill Gates did it. You know, Clintons did it. I don't care which label you want to give it. At the end of the day, this is collectively, I put my finger towards Christians on this one. This is collectively Christian fear. Or anybody else that fears an end time, a hell, God's going to punish everybody and we're all going to die and we're all going to be punished. That is a collective fear of what we're seeing today. Now, China just happens to be providing the solution for the fear, which is what? Coronavirus. It's just a flu at the end of the day. So, same way, I mean, we had the 1918 Spanish flu, and the U.S. admits, I mean, our president admitted many times that, you know, it started with the U.S., our soldiers passed it to Europe, but we were least affected by it. And we did have some shutdowns at that time as well, but not as severe as now. You know, they did have to tell workers to go in at different times of the, day. They said, don't go together, stagger yourselves. So now, you know, we're seeing the same thing. In England, they just made a new law that if you come in from outside, you're supposed to self-quarantine for 2 weeks. And if you don't, you'll be fined £1,000, which is around $1,100 to $1,200. Fine. I mean, think about it. We live in a changing world. So my point is, this is collective fear. Whenever collectively you fear, you bring Job into your life. Job is a classic placeholder for fear. The whole point of Job's story, not that it is true or it is real or it is not real, you know, or it's historical. The whole point of Job's story is whenever you fear, the consequences are going to be possibly irreparable or drastic. And we are seeing that today. This is all a collective fear. So what does Torah teach us? Let me tell you what Torah teaches us. This is what I mean by keeping the real Torah. There's a fake Torah and there's a real Torah. You can have the fake Torah of the rabbis, which is what? Talmud, Midrash this and Mishnah this and that. There is absolutely nothing wrong with studying the Talmud and the Mishnah. I encourage it to everybody. I encourage you to purchase it, although it costs a bit, arm and a leg. But I say spend that arm and a leg and purchase it, study it, read what the rabbis have to say. There will be some good knowledge there to bring in home, definitely. But at the end of the day, that is not Torah. So what is Torah? Torah is the execution of the principles that Abraham, Isaac and Jacob followed. That's what Torah is. Now you have to ask yourself the question, are you following the principles of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob? And if you're not, then you have to learn what are those principles and how do I follow them. And once you learn how to follow those principles, then you definitely can say with a chest out that you are keeping the principles of the Torah. And no one can stop you from saying you're not, because you will be. Because you will show it in your life. It will show it in your life, 100%. Now, with this I'll give you an encouraging testimony as well. One of my students, they phoned me the other day and they said they managed to clock, and again we are still in the middle of the fulfillment. They said about 4 or 5 affirmations came through, one after the other, but they're all kind of linked together as well. So there was a job, a house, some money, and a couple of other things, a relationship and one other. So they basically told me that at least 4 to 5. Now there's one affirmation that we are still waiting to hear. There was 2 affirmations was very similar. So I'm still waiting to hear which one of those is fulfilled in that person's life. I don't know yet. I'll get to hear about it in the near future. Because even they are not sure yet, because the final figures for the money exercise, which may be related to a job or a discount in a property purchase. They were offered a discount of $30,000 on a property purchase. To me, that is money being received, because you can pay $60,000 for a property and the owner turns around and says, hey, I'll give you $30,000 discount. But to me, right, either you have to pay $60,000 for the next 40 years, or you got a discount and you only pay 30,000, right? So that is technically money as well. So you can say that is a money affirmation fulfilled. That's a great increase. Baruch Hashem, yeah, 30,000 is a lot of money. So that actually happened as well. So now let me tell you how it happened, because I don't want you to be in any particular how should I say it, deception. You need to know what works and what doesn't work. And that's where my next book will come in, the book Bullseye, The Law of Manifesting. That's being written as we speak. It's not yet complete, and it will take a little while to complete. However, it will talk about, testing, results, and it will talk about methods. So one of the methods that I gave my student, and a couple of my students are in the room that have this method, and they're still putting it to the test. And this is the test that came through. And I want to encourage you all, because, one of the key things for me, and this is why I say that at 13, I actually had these principles, but I didn't quite know how to say them, how to formulate them. And by the time I was 23, I had some idea of how to apply these principles. But I wasn't still 100% okay with it, because, I hadn't done any testing. So from 13 to another 10 years passed, and I wasn't still sure how to apply them until I read up on it, a few books, disparate books, and by any particular author. And I learned that, if I wrote down my affirmation, and if I looked at it every day, and if I said it, then the chances are high that it will come through. So what I did, at 23, I started to write my affirmation, and I started to practice it. In other words, I wasn't still sure what wording to use, so I started putting it in the future tense, like saying that I will have a black BMW car, instead of saying I have a black BMW car. So I started to do that way, and yes, it got fulfilled. By the way, it worked for me. It took me another whole decade. I was 30-something when I had my BMW, my house, my job that I wrote down for. All of those things happened between 23 and 33. They all came, but it took a whole decade. And I was like, wow, 10 years, long time, but I got it. But it wasn't a big issue. But what I'm saying is this, that but the biggest question remained in my mind: what brings it in faster? What's going to bring it in quicker? Because 10 years is a long time. And yes, it might seem like a big leap, but to some people, 10 years might be. I'm just saying, if somebody is 90 years old, 10 years could mean there'll be 100 before they get anything, and that to me is not acceptable. To me as a teacher of the principles of the Torah, it's not acceptable to wait 10 years to receive something. So for me, reception of something has to happen. I'll tell you what time period I look at. And I'm not talking about becoming a billionaire, because if you want to be a billionaire, then 10 years is fine. 10 years is great for that. But if you want to be a millionaire, then if you told me you got to wait 5 years, I'll say unacceptable. 5 years is unacceptable to be a millionaire. But if you said to me 2 years, I'll say yes, 2 years is acceptable. 2 years is good time to become a millionaire, and yes, you can do that, by the way. I have proved it to some of my students that I'm not going to tell you who they are. There's no need for you to know either. I can tell you that one of my students is a millionaire by practicing my principles that I gave him. Another one is sitting on the verge of about 5 affirmations being fulfilled in less than 31 days. Because I asked the dates as well. I said, what date did you write them? And what wording? And what came out of this testing, because it's very important, very encouraging, is that the I am affirmations did not work as planned. In other words, the I am takes longer. The I have takes longer. So I told them to append why against the affirmations. So now they started to do why I have why do I live in a property that I love, or why do I have a apartment that I love and I live in it? To those effects. I'm just giving you a paraphrase. It's not exactly like that, but you could write it like this: why am I a millionaire? Instead of saying, I am a millionaire, I can guarantee you this, that if you practice the principles, within 2 years, you will be that person that you want to be. but you got to now start doing it with the why. So the two methods that I came through, I'll give you one over here publicly, I won't give you the other one. So the first method I'll give you is the why principle. So I say the why principle. Based on the why principle, I made a little recording. And my next meditation recording is a 60-minute or a 15-minute. And it works on the why principle. So what I did, I took a really fancy music, it's an online free music. Anybody can go get it from the YouTube library. And what you do then, what I did is then I put my affirmations in there, subliminals, and I hid them under the music. Now when you listen to the music, you get all the beautiful, powerful why affirmations in there. So I sent it to a couple of my students to listen to and test it out. But if you want it, by all means write to me, and you can listen to beautiful music. I mean, you could dance to that music and you could exercise. It's really nice, really good music. And so you can have that and you can use it for just daily listening, or just going about your day, or going to the gym, or whatever. Gyms are right now closed, but when they open, of course, you can use it. So I highly encourage you to take that. I call it my wealth project. So I've come off a long way since I was 13. Long way to knowing God and having a relationship with Him and putting His principles into application. So this is why I say with great enthusiasm that Baruch Hashem Yahweh for the Torah that He gave us, that we on 24th is our Pentecost. In the diaspora outside of Israel, we do this celebration for 2 days. 24th will technically be a no work day, and 25 will be a work day. Now, for those of you that do the Jewish lunar cycle, because this is by the way the solar cycle, the Enoch one, if you do the Jewish lunar, then the festival is 31st. It's 1 week later. So it always is on a Sunday. So this is why it will be Sunday this week. That means tomorrow for us. And for the other people who do the Jewish lunar cycle, and that's fine if you do that, if that works for you, then that's next week, Sunday. So that's that. So my point is that when we come back to, if we come back to the Torah, the Pasha, the portion of Torah we're reading here, chapter 1 of the book of Numbers, and Yahweh spoke to Moshe in the wilderness of Sinai, in the 10th of the appointed times, in the first day of the second month, in the second year after they came out of the country of Mitzrayim, saying, take the census of all the congregation of the children of Israel after their families, the Mishpachatim, by the base of their Abtim, or by the houses of their fathers, forefathers, with the number of their names, every male by their polls, from 20 years old and upward, all that are able to go forth to war in Israel, you and Aaron shall count them by the armies. Now, we know that in the Jewish nomenclature, that by 13 your bar mitzvah is done if you are a male, and for girls is 12, but at the age of 20 is really when you are held accountable for anything, technically speaking. Now, why did God say 20 and not 19 or not 18? Well, let me tell you why. Because remember I gave you my example. At 13, I knew that this whole idea of God that people were teaching was not accurate, was not correct. I challenged it even at 13. But I wouldn't be able to challenge my parents or uncles or aunties, because guess what? They would say to me, this kid is disrespectful, and this kid is doesn't know what he's talking about, he is challenging us, blah, blah, blah. And on it will go. So I didn't do that. I kept it to myself. Most of the time I kept everything to myself until 23. Then I started speaking out against it. So my point is this, that when God spoke to me internally, which was at around 29, somewhere around, or let's just say 30-something, at around 30-something when God spoke to me, you got to understand that I had been, looking to speak to God for 10 years. And I was executing the principles I knew back then how to speak to God. But they didn't work for me at the time, but it did eventually come through. So the person who spoke to me, he didn't say his name is Jesus. Christian said that, by the way. He didn't say that to me. He didn't say his name is Yeshua either. Or his name is Yehoshua. Or whatever. He didn't give me no names. He just simply spoke to me. And I accepted it for what I heard. And I heard it. So it was my resurrection, my death and my resurrection. to paraphrase it like a Christian, like a Bible way of the New Testament. So for every one of you, your death and resurrection will occur when God comes within you and you realize the power of God. That's when your death and resurrection happens. So if you want to apply the principle that Christians apply as a placeholder. I'm not saying you're literally going to die and raise, but this is a spiritual principle. So my point is this, that until you interface with God, and when do you interface with God? And I can tell you that I interfaced with God when I executed the plan. When I executed the plan that I had learned at 30-something, I interfaced with the God within me. Before that, I was, struggling to find that God. And I looked for that God everywhere, I couldn't find Him. But eventually, when He spoke to me, it was when I had executed the plan. So what's important? Execution. Don't just talk about the Torah to me. People say to me, oh, I do Torah. Okay, great, yeah. Good luck to your Torah. What do you do with Torah? Go to synagogue once a week? Or do you go to church once a week? That's the Torah that people keep. But Torah is about the principles and the applications that Abraham was taught, and that Isaac was taught, and that Jacob was taught. Now, you can even take Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, even Jesus, as placeholders. Now you might think, what the hell is a placeholder? Well, let me tell you what a placeholder is. As an IT person, when I went to install a server, we were putting mail servers in London, and when I went to install a server, they would say, we're going to design an organization, a whole big organization in the virtual space, and we're going to call it by a name of the company. And they would say to us, we're not quite sure how to word the organization name. We don't know if to call it Thomson Reuters or Thomson or Reuters or Reuters Thomson, whatever, because I used to work for Thomson Reuters at one time. And they would say, put a placeholder in. In other words, the first server you put in, we give it a temporary name. So all these people in the Bible are placeholders. They're temporary names for us to understand the principles behind the Torah. Now, this is not to challenge that they existed, or didn't exist, or what age they lived. All of that is not relevant at this point. I believe in the historicity of the Bible, by the way. I believe in it. I believe all these people existed in real life. Now, some people may not believe that, and that's okay. So this is why I'm giving you a new way to understand it as placeholders. These are placeholders. Abraham is a placeholder, and Jesus is a placeholder. And Jesus said that I and my Father are one. As a placeholder, by the way. Because they were not, in principle, if you looked at, the person, Yeshua, he, was by himself. You didn't see Father in him at the time. There was nothing, there was no glow around him like Moses. Moses came down. When Moses interfaced with God, he had a glow around him. He had to cover his face. So you could tell, Moses had an experience. But Jesus did not have that glow around him. So how would you be able to tell? But Jesus told you by His own words that I and the Father are one. But my Father is greater than me. So in other words, when Moses had a glow and Moses came down, he hid his face. So what does that teach us? It teaches us that when you actually have interface with God, your life is going to change radically. Because now you're executing, and I keep using the word execution. It's very important to understand that. Execution brings God closer to us. Non-execution takes away God from us. The more we non-execute, the more further away God disappears. So therefore, execute the principles in the Torah, execute the Sabbath, execute the festivals, execute the tithe, execute the Zadaqah, execute, mercifulness, execute love offerings. If you're going to give somebody to somebody in the street, that's a love offering to somebody in the street. Mercy, execute justice. These are the principles of the Torah. Don't just sit around a table and talk about it every day. That's what most families, what they do, they just sit around a table or on a couch and they just discuss, what God is. And I saw that firsthand in my Muslim family back in England and in Pakistan. I saw that, and I still see it today. And I see it in Christians as well, because I have family both sides. In fact, I have family in three sides: Christian, Jews, and Muslim. And I see that all the time, because all they do is discuss about the God can be this and God can be that, and Jesus did this and Jesus did that. That's all they talk about. The Christian side of the family, and the Muslim side talk about the Muslim side, and commiserations to the Muslim families, because there was a plane that crashed yesterday. Sadly, it was a Airbus plane, one of the newer ones, and sadly it crashed in Karachi, killing. I'm not quite sure if it killed all 95, but I think there were 3 survivors from what I know. And I was saying that, wow, what a miracle of God, 3 survivors. Baruch Hashem Yahweh, and really sorry for the families that are facing this tragedy. And my commiserations go out to those families, and may they have peace and rest at this time, because it's a very difficult time for those families who lost loved ones. And to me, if 92 people died, that's 92 families. It's very, very sad. And not just because it happened in Pakistan, it could happen anywhere. Anywhere, wherever it happens, plane crashes are not a nice thing. And I mean, I travel in planes all the time, so definitely not a nice thing. So we got to, have compassion for people, and may God give those people rest and, give them solace in this time and strengthen them. Baruch Hashem Yahweh, because it's a difficult time in all the world with coronavirus and all the scams that are going on. And now you know that China supplied 40 kits, and you know that the majority of testing that happened, they're all scams. They're basically all not what's claimed to be, positive results ended up as negative, and so on and so forth. So you cannot trust the numbers given to you by governments today, because majority of those numbers are from fake, I should say bad kits, bad medical kits that tested the virus and pronounced you positive and you were not positive. I heard that there were people in Pakistan hospitals fighting with the doctors, saying that my wife don't have coronavirus. And the doctor saying, no, she does, because she's tested positive, and I want to give her this injection. And they're saying, no, you cannot give this injection to my wife. No, you can't. And they're forcing these people to take injections. And they won't let them go home. I heard those terrible stories in the hospitals. And you know what I say? Don't go to a hospital. That's my advice to you. Stay away from hospitals, because they are the hotbed of these things going on. And doctors are corrupt, nurses are corrupt, and all sorts of things are happening. But there are not to say that every doctor is corrupt. There are good doctors out there and good nurses. But we are seeing that for COVID-19, a lot of it is being picked for the sake of numbers and money. In the US, I heard that every dead person in the hospital gets $39,000 for COVID-19 marker. He may have died from heart attack. He may have died from, my goodness, or some other disease. But you just tick the box COVID-19, $39 bank, ka-ching, you got $39,000 hospital. So that's happening all over the place, by the way, because the NGOs in the third world countries also doing payments to countries' hospitals to say that if they're COVID-19, they'll get some reimbursement. So they're also doing a lot of lying and a lot of rigging in Pakistan, India, and that goes for every other country in the world, in Europe as well, by the way. Wherever you tick that box, then somebody gets money behind that. And the companies are running out to push vaccines. Why? Because vaccines make money. And they don't care of the side effects right now, but when the side effect comes up, then of course when people die, and because not proper testing was done, then of course that'll be a different story. We'll talk about it then. But right now, everybody's running to and their dog for vaccines. And I can tell you that this ideology is flawed at its basic element. That if you think a vaccine can protect you, then my goodness, you really need to go back to a school and relearn physics and biology, because vaccines don't save lives, by the way. So it's how you live is what saves your lives. How you live, the execution of the principles of Torah is what saves life. Are you living in the execution of the principles of the Torah? Or are you just talking about it? Most people are not just talk about it. So don't just talk about it, do it. Now, for instance, I was talking to Rabbi Kefa. Rabbi Kefa was saying to me that we spoke about zinc as a good supplement to take, and we also spoke about another selenium. Selenium is another supplement that you can buy from any regular store. You can buy it from Amazon, eBay, or any regular store. A health store sells it in America called selenium, and that's supposed to be good for you as well because it builds up your immune system and cells. And technically speaking, from what I understand, is that the virus, when it affects you, this flu virus, coronavirus, it replicates fast in your cells, and these zinc and selenium, they prevent that. So at basic, as Rabbi Kefa saying, prevention is the cure, absolutely. And selenium, Rabbi Kefa's writing, is the birth control for viruses. So yes, it's a good idea to maybe make selenium as part of your regular intake, in this environment of viruses all around us all the time. And so, having said that, I saw a movie which I found quite fascinating. I encourage you to watch it as well yesterday, called Jumanji. Jumanji, the next step or something. And it was really good because to me it reminded me of reincarnation. Because these characters go into a computer game and they come out as different characters. A man comes out as a woman, and a white guy comes out as a black guy, and so on and so forth. You'll see this hilarious. It's really hilarious, but there is truth behind that, because that reminded me of the reincarnation which happens of people in real life, by the way. There are vitamins, by the way. Selenium is a what you call a vitamin, and it's a supplement. You can easily buy it from your GN store or Amazon. On a helicopter. I say helicopter, I mean like they deliver it to your door. In stock market they call this money that's been given by the government, they call it helicopter money. So, you keep throwing helicopter money at the stock market, maybe it'll put out the fire for a little bit, but eventually, that fire might turn out to be an inferno. So beware of that too. So that's kind of funny, helicopter money. Whenever I say the helicopter money, I laugh. So having said that, my point is that these are good things. I'm not going to say things that I don't know. Like for instance, I don't know if silver water can cure the disease because I have no test. I've never tested it on the patient. I don't know, so I can't say that. But I have heard people say it, that silver water will be good for this illness as well. Although I don't have a test to confirm it. I'm going to put it out there. I have nothing to take from it, and I haven't tested it, so I don't know. But I will tell you this, that chloroquine will cure the disease. That I have test on. That I definitely have a test. And Rabbi Kefa will probably confirm that the hospital that he was probably, was visiting it or associating with it in some way, and they were professionals, health professionals, they were taking chloroquine tablets for prophylaxis. Prophylaxis means to prevent the disease. And it's a fancy word, by the way, that I learned in medical science. And so it's to prevent the disease. And he told me that workers over there, health workers, doctors, nurses, were taking it and to prevent the disease. And they had said that they were so far successful with it. And you heard the president said it. The president of the U.S., President Trump, said he also takes it for prophylaxis. Chloroquine, tablets, and zinc. Adelia is saying that there are a lot of people who die from the virus that they will lack vitamin D. That may be so as well, Adelia. That may be so too. So again, you see, people are short of different things, vitamin D, zinc, selenium, other things, and they can come out in different ways. But I'll say this, that, unless if you're a McDonald's junkie, like, all you live on is McDonald's beef burgers and, McDonald's fries and Coke, then yes, then the likely chances are that you'll lack everything, period, other than cow, of course, but then you don't know, there might be fake meat over there. We don't know if it's cow or horse. So that's another one, funny one for you. I'll throw it out there. So my point is, why did God say that, Jacob, you did very well. Artemisia annua is the actual plant that makes it, and it's one of the best plants to have. I have it on my desk right now. And I have a few bottles of Artemisia annua. This is the best thing to have in the whole world, dust of gold. Anybody that comes close to the disease or prophylaxis, you want to prevent it, make sure you take 8 drops of this every day if you want to prevent it. Especially if you're in the middle of people, you're traveling, or you may be a medical worker, maybe you are working at a, building, take it. Take about 8 drops a day. You don't have to take it forever, but at least in the time of high infection, take it, it will prevent it. I will tell you that for sure. So, yes, you can, yeah, absolutely, Eddie, you can get it off eBay, no problem. So, why did God, let me come back to now the principle of God. You know, God is, when I say principle, of course, God is a reality of power, a power outside of us. This is why when I translated, now let me tell you something of interest. Eddie is saying that you can get 2 bottles of 2 ounces for about $30, and they're really great. Yeah, really, really great. Make them as part of your diet plan, and they taste pretty good as well. It's not a bad taste, by the way. You add some water to it, and boom, 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 and you're done. So, of course, the WHO is not going to tell you that, because the WHO has, you know, other agendas going on. So, having said that, my point was this, that coming back to God and coming back to the 20-year plan, is God said that take a census, you know, count the people from 20 years old and upward, all that are able to go forth to war in Israel. Now, to a lot of the people, this might seem like God is taking people out to make them fight other nations, like, you know, a defensive war or a offensive war, you know, or the two. Now, by the way, I'll give you another opinion on this matter. It is actually not for war as we understand it. Today for that, Eddie just pointed the link that you can take to buy this stuff. So it is not talking about a literal war, because the problem is this, that in our understanding of what war really is, you know, anything that, you know, when the Bible speaks about war, we take it literally. We say, oh, yeah, it must be, you know, like going to kill people and all that. No, it is absolutely not talking about a literal war. But what is it talking about? 20 years old and upward. Well, you know, not to give you not to baffle you with it, it basically speaks about organizing your life. It's an appointed time. The word there, the Hebrew word, zava'ah, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go to war. Melchama is the word for war, but it's not using that word, it's using a different word. So it does not mean that you're technically going to war, like, you know, hand to hand, fist to fist, sword to sword. It's not like that. But it's actually talking about an appointed time. It's talking about a battle of self. So what is this self battle? What the Torah is actually telling you, when you're 20 and upward, you've got to start applying the principles of the Torah in your life. That is the high time that things will start to tick and turn, and you'll start getting your manifestations and desires coming through. How? The principles of the Torah. That's why those people were separated. And guess who else got separated? He said, separate the priesthood. These are not to be counted. So why wasn't the priesthood counted? And the reason is very simple. Because the priesthood was given a higher level of spirituality to know what those principles are. And Moses was teaching them, and they were receiving, learning and understanding from Aaron. So they knew that there was higher principles, that God had given them this spirituality, so they could apply it and also teach it to others. That's why the priesthood was separated. Hence why today you see Rabbi Simon Elfab teaching you these principles. There is not a single rabbi I know in the earth today, and I'm talking about the whole world, not a single rabbi is teaching you what I am teaching you today. Now what does that tell you? Who is a Kohen in the gate? That's the question I ask most people, and they can't answer that mostly. So therefore it's very important to understand that, and Todah for that, Yaakov, for the link. So very important to understand, must apply the principles. And if you apply the principles, you're going to start getting your desires. Follow the principles of the Torah, execute them. When you execute them, you will get your desire. Do not be like Job, please. Do not be like Job and live in fear. Because any person who lives in fear is a placeholder, would be Job. Like I explained to you, what is a placeholder? The placeholder is Job. Job is a placeholder for fear. Abraham is a placeholder for abundance and success. And you might say, yeah, Job went through this pain, but he came through it. No, Job is actually an example of not going through the pain. You do not have to go through pain. You do not have to be told, hey, getting money is hard. earning money is hard. That's what your parents will say to you when you're growing up. Hey, making money is hard, earning money is hard, it's not easy to make money, it's not easy to make business. All those things are cliches, and none of them is true. Making money is easy. When you tell yourself that, and you write your affirmations, and you believe in them, you will be making money. And plenty of it, by the way. So apply the principles of Abraham, not Job. Definitely don't apply the principles of Job, because they are a failure. That would be the epitome of fear. And Abraham is the epitome of success. Everybody wants to be like Abraham. And yeah, sure you should. Abraham's our father. And we should apply the principles of Abraham. What are the principles of Abraham? Tithing on time, giving to the poor, allowing other people to come into the home who are hungry, opening up his home, taking his son for a sacrifice and God asked. So that sacrifice wasn't literally, he wasn't literally going to sacrifice, because God's not going to allow human sacrifice, but it was again a placeholder to explain that the very thing you love in your life, the very thing you love, or the one that you love the most, is willing to give it away free. That's the principle behind it. So let's say, I went to Africa one time. I went to Ghana, and there was this person over there, this woman over there. She came to me. I was holding a camera in my hand, digital camera. And she goes to me, I like to have that camera. And that was the only camera I had, by the way, at that time, back in around 2010, 11, 12, those kind of times. So, camera was very, at that time, if you remember, cameras had just come out, and they were like pricey. They were not, they were not discounted cameras. You'd have to pay a couple of $100 for a camera, a good camera. So I had a nice little camera, and this girl goes to me, can I have that? And I was like, I looked at it, and I was like, yeah, sure you can have it. There you go. There's your camera. You can keep it. So I just gave it away. That was a thing of prized possession to me in Africa, and I just gave it away. So to me, that was simply the application and the principal execution of the principles of Abraham. I became like Abraham to just give that away. So you can have it. It's yours. I remember one time a brother came to me, and my younger brother remembers it. I haven't forgotten about that time, long time ago. I was in my 20s. I had a car parked outside in my house. It was my car. It was a French Peugeot. Peugeot were very popular in England. If you live in England, you will know that Peugeot were very, very popular. They still are very popular cars made in France. I had a Peugeot parked outside, and my second brother comes to me and says to me, can I take this car for myself? Because I want to put it into it. I'm struggling. I haven't got a job. I have a wife to support, and I like to put this into taxi. And I said, sure, take it, here's the key. I gave him the car. He still remembers it. And I was speaking to him the other day. He said to me, do you remember the time that you gave me the car? I said, yeah, I remember it. But it's okay, it's no problem. So that was again, execution of the principle of Abraham, giving away something of your possession that you love. So the sacrifice that didn't happen of Abraham's son, that he wanted to go and do it, and God said, no, don't do it now. It was simply elaborating on the principle of what you love, you give away to somebody, and God will grant you more after that. So that's basically a principle. So I will encourage you with two things before I finish my lecture here and pass it to Rabbi Kefa. Number one, we got a festival coming. Give thanks to God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the God of the universes, for the gifts that is given us, which is principles of Torah. Give thanks for that and execute it in your life. Firstly, I explained to you last time that if you want a beneficial life, and this is also coming from testing, that my student said she was struggling to manifest before. Struggle. But she said that when she started to do the meditation between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., things started to tick faster. Affirmations started to take a different shape. So, two things I'll encourage you with. Number one, I know it's harder for you to wake up early in the morning for some of you. I would suggest two things. Write an affirmation to wake up early, and you will be able to wake up early, number one. Number two is do your meditation and visualization first thing in the morning. As soon as you wake up, go into meditation. Second, go into your visualization. You will reap the best benefits of your future life, because these are the best times. The time between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. are those magical times that we connect to God much faster and much quicker. Now, it doesn't mean you have to wake up exactly dot on 3 o'clock. I mean, you can say you'll wake up at, like I do. I mean, I've set myself a time of 4:30 a.m. Sometimes I wake up at 4, sometimes at 4:30, and sometimes even 5. But I normally kind of stick between those times. And I need half an hour every day for me to do those things, the meditation and the visualization. So, I would encourage you to do the same, because my student told me that since he put that principle into action, she started to manifest faster. So that is the second secret source. I gave you one secret source last week. This is the second secret source. Wake up early and do it. To Davo listening, if you're working shifts, no problem, you can do it in the evening. And to Davo listening, have a great festival ahead of Shavuot, the Feast of Weeks. Shem Yahweh for everything, and over to you, Rabbi Kefa. Shabbat Shalom and Shalom Shalom.
Yeah, to Rabbi HaKohen, if I could be heard, can I get a 1? Baruch Hashem. I give thanks always, HaKohen, for your instruction and your guidance and your execution, because I am definitely a benefactor of your execution, and I will continue to be a benefactor of the execution of the Kohen. When you look at Israel as a whole, isn't that Israel summed up in a whole? Israel always benefited when what? The Kohanim executed. Do you get it? Israel didn't execute on their own. They executed when the Kohen executed, then Israel was successful. So, for those of you out there who say you have a Kohen right now and you're looking at the execution and it's kind of like subpar or even 0, and you're trying to find a hero, it's probably because you're not with a Kohen. The proof will be in the pudding at the end of the day. That's what you're going to find. Let's just be real, and let's just talk real this Shabbat. Let's just be real and let's talk real. Like they like to say amongst some crowds, real talk. And I think real talk is very important and much needed in this time and atmosphere of fear and depression and distress and worry. I don't know, you students of human nature, if you can sense that this is going on, but it truly is going on. It truly is going on. How many of you picked that up as well around you? You see around you, and Hakoyim talked about it, and it's really real. And it's not just a national thing, it's a world thing. You have people that are fearful. And we talked about fear, and we talked about the ways that can go, but, we're the light, so we need to equip ourselves with the proper tools that's going to help us be successful. Because when we're successful, then our light shines even better. And there's no dimmer, no flicker, but there's more, our lights become more luminous. And it affects those people that are around us. And as I've learned, and I continue to learn, you can have an effect on people. How many of you would agree with this statement? You can have an effect on your world from your bedroom, from your living room, from your study. You can affect the world. How many of you believe that? How many of you are a witness and a watcher to that very point? You can affect from your very living room, from your very social, like they want to call it now, social isolation status. You can have an effect, an effect and an affect on the whole world. Why? It's because, let's face it, at the end of the day, we've been given dominion over this whole world. So, it goes, two tails on a donkey. You're definitely going to be able to have an effect on the world because you have been given dominion over this world. You truly have. And when you can come into that understanding, I tell you, let me ask you this question, because I was thinking about this week. Out of all of our patriarchs and matriarchs in our history, if you could sit down and talk to one individual, matriarch or patriarch, in our history for 1 hour, if you get 1 hour of time, who would you choose? I'm talking about all of our patriarchs and all of our matriarchs. They may be mentioned in the 66 books of the Bible or not. Think about that for a minute. If you could have 1 hour with one of our patriarchs and matriarchs, just to sit and just sit down and chat with and just, get whatever's on your mind off, who would it be? And get some questions answered, or just, get some understanding on our way of living, our way of life, or just whatever you want to ask. Who would that person be? Daniel says, aka Tor Walker. That's a toughie. I'll tell you, that's a good question, but it's something to think about. See, these are the kind of things that I think about, as I go through my days. A lot of folks are saying Abraham. We got Oliver, Vive la France. I think that's Moses, not Miss, because what? Olive, yeah, okay. I'm like, what are the misses? And a lot of misses in our history. Devorah says Moses. Rabbi Zachariah says Shem. Hey, that's a good one, Rabbi Zachariah. Shem. I tell you what I do on my way to work, and you may find this interesting as well. I give thanks, and I do that instruction that our Kohen gave out to us to call upon the name of God. The Yah, and then the Yahweh, and the Yahuwah, and I do that over and over. But as I call upon the name of God, I invoke my ancestors as well. You know what I say? God of my forefather Adam, thank you. God of my forefather Noach, thank you. Now, for those of you who might be wondering, and I'll do that for all of our forefathers, I'll do it. I'll say the God of my forefather Musa, Moses, thank you. So I put that, like Hakoin talked about, putting a marker on it. And I've been doing that in the morning. It kind of reminds me of what I do in the morning as I'm traversing to work. And I'll say that. The God of my forefather, Jacob, thank you. Just put a marker on it. You know what I mean? So I find it interesting. But I tell you, the person who I would want to sit down with, you know who that person is? For 1 hour, I would want to sit down with Enoch. I'm telling you, I would want to sit down with Enoch. I would want to sit down with Enoch, Mishpah. I'm telling you, if 1 hour, that's the dude, that's the forefather I want to sit down with. I want to sit down with Enoch. With Enoch. I'm telling you, I would want to, think about it. When you think about our history, and you think about all of our patriarchs that, like how Cohen talked about, that left a legacy of execution behind, I'm telling you, I want to sit down with Enoch. I want to sit down with Enoch. Because you know what our Kohen is teaching us now? Enoch already knew. Think about that for a minute. Enoch already knew, because Enoch was we're told in our books that Enoch, he would go from, it's almost like, science fiction. He would go from one part of the country to another part. And you're like, well, how the hell do I do that today in 2020? I mean, Enoch was really connected to the I am in a way that I think nobody else was. Just a question I want to put out there. Eric says, King Solomon, Baruch Hashem. And I do that. I tell you, I invoke my forefathers, the kings. God of my forefather, King David. Thank you. God of my forefather, King Solomon. Thank you. And I do that every morning. Every morning. And do you know what I find? And this is quite interesting. I find that my commute to work is a lot quicker. Because you know what? I tested it. I was like, well, let me just not leave at that appointed time that I normally leave. Let me leave a little bit later and see if I still make it to work on time. And sure enough, I'll leave later, still make it to work on time. Still, and I'm like, wow, so there's something to, and so it kind of made me think about Enoch, our forefather Enoch and Enoch, and how he could, time was not an issue, and how he could move from one place to another. I tell you, that's interesting stuff, isn't it? So that would be the person I would like to sit down with. That would be my forefather that I would like to sit down with and just, have a cup of tea with, or, have a beer. I love to have a beer with Noah. Drink some wine with Noah. My goodness. No telling where that would go. Drink some wine with Noah and just sit down, have a meal with Abraham. Think about that for a minute. Sit down and just have a meal, break bread together with Abraham. That was beautiful, huh? Beautiful stuff. So I just put that. That's just a side note. But to everyone, I would like to, my desire is that all of you have a great festival of weeks, ahead, and truly, where I want to hone in on today, I'm going to touch on the parsha just a little bit, because this parsha, when I look at Numbers chapter 1, is very important to me. Very important to me so important that I named my firstborn son after one of the names in this parsha. My son Nakshan. It's so very important to me, and I'm teaching it to him now already. Numbers chapter 1. This is where you get your name from. Why did I give him this name? Because it's based off, just like what I was talking about, execution. Now let's look at that real quick before we go into, in the spirit of the festival of weeks, or what they call the Pentecost, amongst the anities and the isms and whatever else is out there, and all the other isms out there and anities. But let's look at this real quick. I want to look at Numbers. Again, I read from the Abrahamic-Faith Bible. If you don't have this Bible, it would truly be a good pickup for your libraries. You listening via YouTube. I'd like to put this out real quick. Is there anybody in this room that's listening right now that doesn't have the Abrahamic-Faith Bible? Because I know all of you probably. I'm pretty sure. I would put the farm on it that all of you in this room have the Abrahamic-Faith Bible. Who doesn't? If you don't, and I'm not trying to single you out no kind of way, or shame you. But if you don't have the who doesn't have the Abrahamic Bible in this room? Out of the 19 people in this room, who doesn't have it? Because again, it's all about execution. Because right now, I'm giving an example of an opportunity that happens. Because this could be an opportunity for someone who doesn't have it to have it. But if you get shy and you second guess and you're too shy to talk, but you're amongst the family, you see, this is a great opportunity. This is an example and a test for someone right now. You see, where is their so-called Torah at? So Baruch Hashem, I knew it. Everybody in this room would have the Abrahamic-Faith Bible. But for you listening via YouTube, it's a great pickup. It's a great pickup for your libraries, and it would truly be of great assistance to you and really, really help you out. But look at Numbers chapter 1. Look at verse 7. Now, again, the master, y'all always telling Moses, to what? To speak to the children of Israel and give them some words. People want to associate numbers with numbers, but numbers means what? Words. We're going to talk about words in a minute, but numbers means words. Words, which can equate to numbers, and we know numbers is a total language in itself, right? I'm a big fan of numbers. How many of you in this room like numbers? I love numbers. Matter of fact, I love big numbers as well. I like the big giant numbers. The bigger the numbers, the better, Baruch Hashem. How many of you are a fan of numbers? To talk about that, Vive la France, Oliver. Adelia said she is. Again, all of these things that we do and we say and we execute on are important because, if you're just going to think something but not put it into execution, what's the use? Affirm it. If you like big numbers, some of you not affirming it, and then you're wondering why your affirmation is not met. Well, I didn't respond to that like big numbers because, in all actuality, you don't like big numbers. You see? But you saying you like big numbers. But when it comes time for the rubber to hit the road and time for you to take action and to affirm something, just by being a keyboard warrior and hitting one little button on your computer, you may think that's trivial, but you're actually using energy to make that happen, and you're actually hopscotching to meet your desire. So there's many opportunities that you'll get in Hakoin's lecture and my lecture to help you springboard yourself into meeting your desires. Hakoin gave us many great instructions on what we can do. And he's throwing this out freely, Baruch Hashem. Think about that for a minute. So, Yael 110 said, I love humongous numbers. There you go. And that's what it should be. But for those of you who didn't respond, and then you wonder why are my numbers depleting? Because you and numbers have a bad relationship. And you need to fix that relationship. You need to say, yeah, I love big numbers. And we have a relationship, me and big numbers, that's going to last forever. Big numbers. I love accumulating. I love increasing. I love being increased. Baruch Hashem. From the increaser be he. Baruch Hashem. So be it. So all of these are examples and opportunities. Just give me an opportunity. As I look at the billionaires and millionaires that I study, and that I, read their stories and their history, how they made it and how did they get to where they got, and all of them said they took advantage of opportunities. At the end of the day, opportunity came and they took advantage of it. They acted upon it. Some failed, but then they kept acting upon it until success couldn't do nothing but, embrace them. Baruch Hashem. And at the end of the day, how many of you in this room want success to embrace you? And however you see success, you want success to embrace you. And so when we go back and we look at Numbers chapter 1, now we set the stage here, first let's look at Numbers chapter 1 verse 16 first. These are the renowned of the congregation, princes of the tribe of their avot, their fathers, heads of thousands in Israel. Now, who are these renowned of the congregation? This is why I gave Nachshon the powerful name that I gave him. And before Nachshon even became a sperm count, I made a vow to the Most Highest, to powers that, when you give me a son, when my son comes, I'm going to name him Nachshon. And believe me, I executed just like the heavens executed, and I executed and followed through with what I said I was going to do. And my son's name is Nachshon. Look at Numbers chapter 1 verse 7. Of Yahudah, Nachshon, the son of Aminadab, Baruch Hashem. That's where he gets his name from. I get that question asked to me many times. Oh, Nachshon, that's a unique name. Where did that name come from? It comes from the Bible. Numbers chapter 1. Comes from the Bible. Numbers chapter 1. Now, you want to talk about execution? Why would Nachshon, son of Aminadab, be given renowned status? How did he get renowned status, Mr. Hawk? Anybody tell me? You Abrahamic-Faith Bible holders. Why would Nachshon, son of Aminadab, be given renowned status? How many of you in this room want renowned status? Put up a capital R. You say, Rabbi Kefa, I want some renowned status. Matter of fact, I am renowned status. I am renowned. I am. Anybody? Anybody in this room want some renowned? It's not a trick question. Either you want to be renowned or you just don't. And that's just what it is. Because think about this for a minute. We're Israel. We already renowned. that part and parcel, that's part of the baggage, you see. That's part of the baggage. That's part of the baggage. We are renowned. Whether we want to claim it or fame it, it doesn't matter. We are renowned. And I say that in all humility. What other God spoke to their people? What other Shangdi, as the Chinese call them? What other God spoke to their people? Under some clouds? Under a mountain? Well, beside a mountain? What other God did that? That's renowned status already. I just gave you one example. What other God parted the sea for their people? What other God did that? What other God? Come on now. So, are the people of Israel renowned people? I submit to you, yes. And I say that in all humility. Now, what we do with our renowned status is on us. But all of you in this room are renowned, whether you want to be or not. That's just what it is. You're renowned. But what are you going to be known for? What type of execution are you going to be known for? The renown of all the tribes, Baruch Hashem, from the tribe of Yahudah, from the tribe of Judah, Nachshon. My goodness, every time I say his name, I invoke my forefathers. And I remember, what did Nachshon do? Why is his name so important? And when I begin to tell people, they're like, wow, I don't get that in my King Jimmy Bible. Where did you find that? Well, I didn't see that in Charleston Heston's movie. Renown. Nachshon is going to do great things for whatever nation, wherever he steps foot, because he's going to step foot in many nations, and he's going to help and service many, many people. And he's going to do great things for many, many people. And he's going to help this world. And he's going to leave a great legacy behind. His children and his children's children behind him. Baruch Hashem. I speak it into existence. Just like Akoin told me the other night. We're going to go from strength to strength. To Rabbi for that, Hakoim. I tell you, that emboldened me. And I tell you what, it girded up my loins, Hakoim, for sure. From strength to strength, Baruch Hashem. Not from strength to weakness. We're not doing that here. I don't claim that, and I definitely don't receive it. But we're going to go from strength to strength to strength to strength. Just like Moshe, our forefather, said, as we celebrate the Torah, the giving of the Torah. Be strong and be what, Mishpahah? And be strengthened. Be strong and be strengthened. And that should be the rallying cry for all of you Jews world over, listening via YouTube and live in this room, as we go through this virus out here that's wreaking devastation upon folks. Tell them to be strong and be strengthened, as they see in you strength and more strength on top of strength. Because you're not dictated and swayed by plagues, my goodness. We prosper through plagues, don't we, Mishpahah? That's our history. That's our history. When plagues happen, we prosper. Unless we're part of the problem, and then the plague takes us over. Is that not correct? That's our history in a nutshell. So we study our history. Either you're part of the problem and the plague plagues you, or what? Or you are prospering during the plague. And my desire for each and every one of you, students of Hakoim, Rabbi Simon Altef, is that right now, during this time, how many of you will affirm right now during this time, during this corona mumbo-jumbo virus, that you've been prospering? Put up a capital P, say, yeah, Rabbi, I tell you what, I have been prospering. I have not lacked. I have not had the, I have not been decreased in one bit. I have totally prospered. I have taken advantage. I have taken heed to some of the instruction that's been given to me, and I have definitely, built up my coffers during this time, while other people are running, to empty store shelves. Well, to Rabbi for your responses, by the way. Truly appreciate it. For you listening via YouTube, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 folks still coming in. 11 folks affirmed prosperity during this so-called plague mumbo-jumbo. Lion Princess says, no lack. Never no lack. Baruch Hashem. No lack. Come on, let's get real. Let's do some real talk this day. It's important stuff. Rabbi for that, Rabbi Zechariah. Prosper. That's what we do. We're Israel. You're renowned. Baruch Hashem. What are you doing with your recognition? You kept saying food, and more food. Baruch Hashem. Truly, that is a blessing, Mishpahah. Because you don't have to go far. I'm seeing reports coming out of New York that there's people waiting in food lines for food, and that's real. You don't have to go very far. This plague has made people wait in food lines to get food. And it's kind of getting rough in some of these states. Why? It's because they don't want to open these states up. And there was another report, and I would encourage y'all to look at. I don't bank with J.P. Morgan, but J.P. Morgan Chase, they put out a study. How many of you heard about this study? They're saying this coronavirus was a bunch of mumbo-jumbo. Should have never shut down. And they come with some numbers. You want to speak about numbers? They came with some numbers. Saying we should have never shut the economy down behind this virus. Should have never done it. It done more harm than good. You see? J.P. Morgan Chase, I want y'all to Google that and read their study based upon the numbers. And they looked at this. They're like, well, let's do it. Let's do a study on this. Let's test this out and see. When we look at the world, was it beneficial to even shut down the economy behind this mumbo jumbo? You see, Lion Princess said never made sense to me. And to me, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. so that's my take. Rabbi Simon Hakohen says more divorces are taking place now than ever before as a result of the shutdown and lockup. Oh, indeed. Because now it's up close and personal. And you got to get intimate with the one you so-called supposed to love. You see, that's when all that talk is put to the side. And you have to begin to really put it into what? Execution. You have to execute every day in them four walls of your house with your family. And for a lot of families, it hadn't been all peaches and cream, let's just say. or for me, it hadn't been a box of chocolate. And I was thinking about this week as well. You know, and all respect to Forrest Gump, when he said life is just a box of chocolates, you just don't know what you're going to get. That's totally not true. Do you know life is a box of chocolates, and you can know what you're going to get, and you can take what you want, and you can eat all the chocolate if you desire to. How many of you remember that saying? How many of you even watched that? You know, Forrest Gump. You remember when he said in that movie? He said, life is just like a box of chocolates. You just don't know what you're going to get. Well, yes, you do know what you're going to get, Mr. Mahar. You don't have to wait on the world to tell you, okay, what's coming to you. You know what you're going to get. And I tell you, knowing is confidence, isn't it? You're confident when you know. It's the unknown. And that's where people are today. They fear the unknown. Oh, I don't know if I had a coronavirus or not. And just like our Cody says, it depends on what test you take. You'll be corona positive or corona negative. And then they try to push you to inject you with this and give you this, that, the other, and the third. You see? I tell you, it's a bunch of mumbo jumbo, man. It's a bunch of mumbo jumbo. But the fear is what's leading all the sheep to the slaughter. It's that fear. And they running they just going on just like zombies. Just, okay, well, if they doing it, they got to be right. Everybody's blah, blah, blah. But you know what? I don't know if you're noticing this. There are voices that are waking up against, all of this fear mongering and shut down, blah, blah, blah. They're saying, hey, wait a minute. We got to think logically here. Let's think realistically here. What's really going on? And you see it here in America. Eliot says he affirmed learning how to run. He sure did, didn't he? Forrest Gump affirmed that. And he put that into action, because last time I checked, that dude ran all over the world. Literally. And he said, what did he say? And I was running. And I was running. I love that accent. I tried to get that accent down, like country boy accent. I love that accent. Daniel, a.k.a. Tor Walker, says, in getting chocolates, you have to create it, make it first, make what you want, and then eat what you love. Yeah, and getting chocolates, yeah, indeed. And that's the whole process and procedure that we've been taught from the priesthood. From the Kohen, HaKohen, son of Aaron, Baruch Hashem. God of my forefather, Aaron, the Kohen, HaKohen. Thank you, Baruch Hashem. So these things are so vital and important. As we lift up today the Torah, because that's what I want to do today. I want to lift up today. I tell you, I got a big meal prepared tomorrow. My goodness. And, and by the way, for everybody that celebrate Memorial Day, hey, my thoughts go out to all of the military brethren out there who did any kind of service for anybody's country in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Selfless service. Give up their life for the country, or, lose a limb for your country, or, just serve for your country. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And I know all of you men and women that have served, I know you will say that it has truly benefited you and humbled you and really taught you a lot. Have some great relationships that you met along the way. And I know all of you will say the same thing, because that's the military mindset. And great camaraderie and coming together, and great patriotism for your country, which I think is so very important that we have that, especially during these times. Not only during the good times, but you all can see the patriotism in this country. Is it happening in the UK? I'd like to hear from the UK people. Are you seeing, the patriotism where people are stepping up and showing humanitarianism towards one another, which I think is a beautiful thing. We're seeing it here in America, and it's a beautiful thing to behold. When you see humanity come together, not based on color, creed, race, and just helping one another. And I tell you, it brought me to tears that, our government is going to come. We got all this abundance of food. And the farmers couldn't get it out, so they decided to donate all of this food to the food banks. Some of you heard that story this week. A great story. All of this food is going to the food banks because, everything's pretty much on the shutdown, and they have this abundance of food. And so they were euthanizing animals and doing all this, that, and the other, and third, because they had this food that they were just sitting on. It was just going to waste. So the president and the administration said, you know what? Let's take this food and fill the food banks. So that, all these people that are in these lines waiting to get food are going to get good, healthy, wholesome food, boxes of food. How many of you seen that? I've seen that here in San Antonio. In San Antonio, you can pull up every day during the week. You can pull up to the Alamo Dome. We have this big dome. It's called Alamo Dome, where you can play sports events and everything. Well, you can pull up there and no questions asked. You pull up there in your car, your truck, your SUV, your Prius, your Tesla, whatever you got. You pull up there, they're going to put a box of food in your car. Now, we're talking about meat products and dairy, and not just one chicken. There are 5 or 6 chickens in there. And I'm like, wow, that's a box. So they put together these boxes, and they just giving them away. And people just pull up like a drive-through, get a box of food, and keep it moving. No questions asked. I think that's a beautiful thing. So we're seeing great things take place. Great things are coming out of Corona for sure. Great things are coming out of humanity. Lion Princess says great things are coming. She's seeing the same thing in the UK as well. That's a beautiful thing. Excuse me. And I think we're going to see these things all over. These things are taking place all over the world. They're just not being talked about as much. And so be it. Some of it, like, keep it on the back burner, or just, like what we did with Musa. Musa, we had to keep his head covered because of the glow. And some things you just keep under wraps and just continue to do. You see, because what I want at the end of the day is not for me. I don't have to go around saying Torah, Torah, Torah. And this is why I named the title of this lecture. I named it this. Torah, enough said. Torah, enough said. And why are you saying Torah, enough said? Because it's just that. You don't have to go around saying your Torah. Just say Torah, enough said. Torah, enough. That's enough said. But the service and the fulfillment of the Torah should be in your what? Like Kohen talked about, in your execution and your actions. You see, I don't want to have to go. I don't go around saying I'm in Torah, Torah, Torah. But do you know what affirms it is when people come up and say, hey, you follow the laws of Moses, don't you? You follow those books. You follow the Bible, don't you? That's affirmation. When somebody else tells you. Think about that for a minute. You see, you don't have to go around tooting your own horn. You just let your actions and your example and your execution walk 1,500 miles before your words. Do you get that? How many of you with me on that? How many of you are in agreement, family, and walk with me in that same way? Because what you need to understand, as we talk about Torah, Torah was given during our celebration of the Festival of Weeks, but Torah has to be received. You see, everybody can run around here saying Torah, Torah, Torah. Torah was given. Baruch Hashem. Torah was given. Torah is alive and well and kicking. Torah is king in my life and will always be. Torah was given, but Torah has to be received. How many of you understand that? There's a process. Now, I know all of you at one time or another, you all were raised in God-fearing homes. Would I not be incorrect in saying that? Meaning to say that you were raised in homes that believed in the Bible to some extent. Some kind of extent. Whether it was New Testament, Old Testament, doesn't matter. But you were raised in a situation to where you weren't raised in an environment to where it was like, anti-God or just like no belief in any God like they do in China. Majority of the people there in China don't believe in any God. Any kind of, you just live and you die and blah, blah, blah. You see? So, Yael woman lieutenant saying, I had that happen to me this past week. Someone kept telling people that I was a Torah-keeping Jew. See? There it goes right there. That's a prime example of the Torah, the affirmation of the Torah in your life. You see, you don't have to go around with these t-shirts on, Torah warrior, and I'm in the Torah, and blah, blah, blah. And, how Christians do. They get all these shirts and put Jesus on it, and, oh, Jesus loves me, what would Jesus do, paraphernalia, and blah, 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 blah. And they're walking advertisements. I see it all the time. And t-shirt factories make a lot of money off of that stuff. Off the name Jesus, and put Jesus on the shirt. You know, people are going to buy it at the end of the day, period. What would Jesus do? Jesus loves me. You need to be saved. Jesus, Jesus. How many of you seen the same thing? It's a great advertising scheme. I'm telling you, somebody's making a lot of money, you know, behind that, and so be it. But you know, that's the thing that they're into. But for us, we don't need to do that. We let other people tell us, "Oh, I see the Jesus in you." I'm like, Baruch Hashem, yeah, he was a Jew too. We're from the same blood, same family, by the way. Baruch Hashem. Your book Revelation said Jesus has hair like wool. So do I. Feel it. I don't let him feel my fro, but I say, yeah, hair like this, just like wool. How many of you got hair like wool? Baruch Hashem. So again, you don't need to sit there and toot your own horn, and definitely don't do yourself a disservice by saying you're in the Torah and you're not, because to me that's blasphemy. Or I wouldn't say blasphemy, that's a stronger word. That's hypocritical for you to say that I'm in Torah, but that's all it is. It's just saying that I'm in the Torah. That's hypocritical. You see? Daniel saying, "Oh, indeed, my mother introduced me to God of heaven and earth, of Abraham, all the way to Jesus. My home as a child was not a Torah home, but I told her recently, thank you for introducing me and trying to teach me when she had me." Oh, Baruch Hashem, Daniel, you need to give thanks for that. Always to your mother. Always to your mother. And I guarantee you, all of you probably have a similar type story to where, they were trying to teach you the do's and don'ts and keep the 10 Commandments and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. That was a marker, That was just a step. Like I love the way Akoin talks about a marker. That was a marker or a step to get you where you need to go. See, Torah was given, but Torah has to be received. How many of you know what I mean when I say received? What does it mean to you to receive something? When I say Torah has to be received, what does that mean? We understand in our history that, it was a big deal. We was under Mount Sinai the first time. Well, we were waiting on Moses to come back, right? Come back down from the mountain. So there was a preparation stage, right? Devorah 27 says to accept and to practice it. Okay, what does it mean for you to receive it? Like, yeah, you can. Yeah, Torah was given. It was definitely given. Torah is in everybody's Bible. For the most part, unless they, inked out the first section, or they just got the New Testament for some reason. But majority of people have the Torah in their Bible. Torah has been given. We can all agree on that. But here's the next step. Torah has to be received. Devorah says to her, receive means to accept and practice it. You have to receive. What does receive mean to you? If Torah was given, okay, Torah's given out. Okay, now you have to receive it. Now, this is deep stuff because we have to understand this on a ground roots, on a grits and greens level, meat and potatoes. Because Torah needs to be, it's more than just, 5 books. It's a way of life. It's a lifestyle. It's how an individual lives his life. Daniel says, Adiyah says, to live upon. Daniel says, you receive it means you do it, the deeds, the actions. Torah has to be executed daily. Executed daily from Yael, woman of the tent. Torah has to be received. Okay, here we go. Let's take it a step further. If I would say to you, all right, you telling me all this mumbo jumbo about Torah. I'm a Christian from Christian background, Catholic background, blah, blah, blah. And I'm come from Anates. And I come up to you and I say to you this. I say, well, yeah, you saying to receive, but how do you do receive? How do you do? How would you respond to somebody how would you do receive? put receive, how would you do it? So then what would you tell them? Oh, what would you say? Well, you just receive it, brother. You just must receive it. I mean, what would you tell them? If they say, well, then do receive. I mean, how do you receive? I mean, you're saying for me to receive it, but then what's an example of how you do receive? And it's just exactly what they're telling you. You have to put it into practice. You have to actually do. You have to put the process and the procedure into what? You have to put it into play. You actually have to execute. Adin says to give, open mind and heart. I have to exercise my wants and my desires. You see, because believe it or not, how Torah looks to you may not be how Torah looks to me. You see, because believe it or not everybody wants to be prosperous, Mishpah. Listen when I say this. Not everybody wants to be prosperous. You be like, wow, I don't believe you just said that. Oh, believe I just said that because it's true. Not everybody wants to be prosperous. And my Torah tells me, my desire for my Torah is that I want to be prosperous in all things. Health, wealth, relationship. I want to be prosperous in all things. Business. I want to be, in all things, I want to be prosperous. I am prosperous. I'm not a wannabe. I am. I mean, if you get that time, oh, I want to be this. I want to be this. I'm not a wannabe. And some of you need to quit telling yourself you're a wannabe because you're not a wannabe. You are I am. You are I am. You're not a wannabe. Oh, I want to be this when I grow up. I want to be that. I want to be. No, you're not a wannabe. You're a I am. I am successful. I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am prosperous. I am abundance, you see. Why I am prosperous. And you know what you follow that up with, Jacob? Because I am. Why am I prosperous? Why am I? Because I am. Because I am. Isn't that beautiful? And that's powerful as well. Why am I a millionaire? Because I am. Baruch Hashem. Affirming on top of affirming. Or I would consider that an example, HaKohen, from strength to strength. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. From strength to strength. Daniel is saying Malachi 3:10 is a good example. Test it. We're told to do it and see the results that we're told that would happen. Everything is about a test if you don't notice that by now. Do you understand that the perfect law is testing? That's what the perfect law is testing. You see, because, we have to see what fits, what meets our particular, what meets our particular desire status. Some things may work for other people better than others. This is why there's testing. And what works for you and what you're comfortable with, you get in that mode and you roll with it. Because that's your comfortable mode. You're happy there. You see? That's your happy place. And at the end of the day, the creator of all things wants you to be happy. The default settings. Peace, love, happiness, and joy. Baruch Hashem. Now, we kind of veered away from those things, but we're coming back to where you can be in that state, regardless of what's going on around you. Perpetually, peace, love, happiness, and joy. Baruch Hashem. So we walk around saying shalom, shalom. It's not just, a one-off. It's not, yeah, shalom, yeah, but there's more to it. Shalom is all about that inner peace that passes all understanding. That you can have peace when somebody's yelling at you. You can have peace when somebody's, spewing out, obscenities to you. That you can have peace during time of turmoil. You can have peace during time of corona. HaKohen, Rabbi Simon out there was saying, one person here said that they just started the principle of tithing and their income has doubled. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Execute, 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 execute. That is an example of Torah right there. That's Torah. Torah's not said, Torah is done. And during our festival, and I tell you, I'm truly grateful for the festival weeks. Because Torah, I wrote this down. To receive the Torah means to what? Embrace it. You have to embrace the Torah. You have to just hug it and you don't let go. Unlike, counter to our social distancing today, Torah, you can embrace it and you don't have to worry about a virus. Baruch Hashem. The Torah can teach you a lot about some plagues. And Torah has been through some serious plagues. Am I correct, Mishpahah? So these pandemics, epidemics, we don't have to worry about it. We can embrace the Torah. You can fully embrace it, and I would encourage you all to do so. Embrace the Torah in your bosom. And don't ever let go. You must embrace the Torah to where it becomes a part of your being. Yeah, it may take some time, and it will. Torah, enough said. Quit saying that. That's all you have to say, Torah, and don't say anything else. Just begin to do, right? Road Warrior 1, just begin to put it in and implement the principles. Well, you're saying, well, Rabbi, how do I implement the principles? I don't have understanding of the Torah and blah. This is what the Kohen in the gate is for. And in 2020, this is why we have Rabbi Simon out of the Kohen in the gate. To give us that guidance and that direction and that understanding of what Torah is trying to tell us to do in 2020. Because Torah in 2020 is totally different than Torah doing Moshe, doing Moses, doing Musa's time for sure. With planes, trains, automobiles, and driverless cars and robots. D'Eric is saying, my family, my income normally is around $2,000 at best, working overtime included. From the point I started to tithe, pushing $5,000, and the months not over yet. Oh, Baruch Hashem. D'Eric, what a testimony of Torah, of someone who's living Torah, walking Torah, not this Torah by word, but lacking with the deed. You see, that's what's missing. And a lot of so-called, in the family, so-called Torah. Torah, Torah, Torah. You're making up all these songs about Torah, Torah, Torah. Bora, Bora, Torah, Torah. But there is there's no substance to your Torah. When you begin to execute Torah, you'll see Torah will begin to talk to you in such a way to where all your desires, your wants, your needs, they will all be met. You will be increased exponentially. D'Eric, this is just the start. It gets better. And then after it gets better, D'Eric, it gets even more better. And then after it gets even more better, it gets even more and more better. Wow. Isn't that beautiful, D'Eric? And it's a beautiful thing. And just like how Kohen told me, you're going to go from strength to strength to strength. As long as you continue to embrace the Torah. The minute you let Torah go, my goodness. Road Warrior 1 says, but the Torah is not easy to understand. Right. You make a good point, Road Warrior 1. This is why you must go to the Kohanim for understanding. The sons of Aaron, who the Torah said would be our teachers. If you're Israel, your teacher is a Kohen. That should be your teacher. And that's why you're here. Rabbi Simon Altev is here to give you guidance and instruction and direction so that you can understand Torah, so you can go out and execute. It's very difficult to execute something that you don't understand. How many of you would agree with me? How are you going to say you're in Torah but you don't understand it? So your execution is going to be what? Probably piss poor. Because you just don't know. And I say that in all humility and no disrespect. You just don't know. You're ignorant. You just do not know. You want to do, but you don't know. You don't know how to do, but you want to do. And this is what the Kohanim is for. I tell you, I followed the instruction of my Kohen, and he has not a one time steered me wrong. Not a one time. And I'm pretty sure that record's going to stay the same way. Road Warrior saying, even if I can read Torah and fluent Hebrew, you'll still have a hard time understanding. You see, it's not about reading the fluent Hebrew for us. You see, because that's not our mandate. It's to know fluent Hebrew. Our mandate is to listen to the instruction of our teachers. Now, let's take it back, because our history is about a pattern, right? Road Warrior, this is a great, I'm glad you made that point. How many of our forefathers, the Hebrews, wandering in the desert, could read fluent Hebrew? Let's think about it for a minute. Opposed to how many of our forefathers in the desert went to get instruction from Aaron and Moses? Think about it. You see where I'm going? Because that's our history. That's our pattern. We don't have to read fluent Hebrew. You don't have to go to get all this mumbo jumbo titles and, spend all this time, understand. All you have to do is go to the Kohen. Any controversy that you may have, who to go to? The Kohen in the gate. Go to the Kohen to get guidance, instruction, and direction for your very life. So you meet all your marks in this life, in this beautiful life that we've been given. You see? So that you meet all your marks. You see? Baruch Hashem. That's so important. So very important. Is that we meet our marks. And we go through this life happy, humble. Rower said, the high priest? No, the Kohen in the gate right now is Rabbi Simon Altav. The sons of Aaron are the Kohanim. And that has never changed. And it won't change, Road Warrior. But see, this is the problem with most folks that run under the umbrella of the Torah. They have rejected the Kohen. And I'm 99.9% right on that one. Majority of people within the confines of our so-called family. I'm not talking about the entities out there and all this religion mumbo jumbo. I'm talking about those that say they're in the Torah. Either they have done two things. They have rejected the Kohanim, or they have made up their own Kohanim. that's the two sides of the stick that you're going to get. Either they have made up their own Kohanim, or you get a Kohen coming out the woodwork. A Kohen, he reads the Bible, he says, oh, I'm a Kohen, so he makes himself a Kohen and blah, blah, blah. And anyway. Or you get the ones that say, we don't have to listen to a Kohen today. We're in a new dispensation. Or we don't have a standing temple, so the Kohanim are not important. Yah forbid. But this is the kind of understanding that you'll get out there. Not many people want to listen to the Kohen, you see. And we're talking about people that so-called within the umbrella of our family, under that Torah that was given. Baruch Hashem for it given. But not many people want to listen to the Kohanim. The son of Aaron that's in our gate in 2020. What a great blessing, right? But many people see it as a curse. And many people put down the Kohen. And many people just totally disrespect the Kohen. And they say they're in our family, Mishpah. Well, you guess what? You're not no part of me. Because that's not how my Torah rolls. So you get where we're going? This is exactly where we're at. We have a lot of wandering Israel out here because they totally want to reject the part of our history that tells us, who we're to be taught by, who we're to listen to. When a controversy kicks up in our midst, who do we go to? Some of them going to Madame Cleo today or to, Creflo. It's either Madame Cleo, the soothsayer, or they go to Creflo. I don't know which one's worse, to be honest with you. But nobody goes to the son of Aaron, so-called Torah. Oh, you see, Torah, enough said. Quit saying you're in the Torah. Enough said. You don't have to say you're in it. Quit saying that. You see, because once you embrace the Torah, once you receive the Torah, guess what you have to do then? See, there's steps that must be followed. That was an evolution for me with this Torah. Torah didn't just come slap me in the face and say, okay, either you accept or reject me, blah, blah, blah. No, it was building me up. I was going up like this ascending ramp, and it was just building me up. Strength on top of strength. I get one precept down, another one will come up. But one of the first things that happened with me and my journey to the Torah was the first place that the God of Israel, the Yemhuk, my mother wisdom, brought me to was the feet of the Kohen via a YouTube video. And he began to explain to me who I was. I was like, I didn't know who I was. And I'm pretty sure a majority of you, especially if you're here in America, you didn't know who you were, right? How many of you would agree with me? Put up a capital K if you just didn't know. I didn't know who I was. I was told many things. I was told I was African American. That's what I was told. That's what I was told, Oliver. I was told I was African American. Oh, I'm African American. I'm African. That's what I was told. Grandmama told me that. Oh, you African American. My birth certificate said that. Oh, you African American. Man, actually, my birth certificate says Negro on it. I don't know how many of your birth certificates say that, but mine says Negro on it, 69. It said Negro. Mine says Negro, and I come from Negro parents too. So, I didn't know who I was. I just didn't know. To die for your responses, by the way. I just didn't know. Negro, African American, black. I mean, what? I mean, I didn't know. I just, okay, well, that's what I'm told. But then the Kohen and the gate came. Because why? Believe me, I was searching. I didn't want to be a zombie. I definitely didn't want to be a sheep led to the slaughter. I didn't want that. I knew there had to be more to life, and I was like, wait a minute. And guess where I found life? In the living waters, in the Torah. But again, Torah was given many, many years ago. But I had to receive the Torah. Just like all of you, you have to embrace the Torah as family. We have to embrace it. And then you have to what? I wrote this down. The chosen have to choose by choice to change. I'm going to say that again. That's a lot of C's in there, right? The chosen have to choose by choice to change. How many of you would agree with me that the Torah changed you? I'm going to put up a capital C on that one multiple times. The Torah changed me. The Torah totally changed. It just changed me. But, you see, that's part of the embracing. You see, let's just say, the after effects of the Torah would be a change. And I mean change in a good way. But the chosen, meaning those that receive the Torah, and I don't care what your ethnicity is, your race, your color, your creed, that doesn't matter at the end of the day. All that doesn't matter. If your hair is dready, or if it's straight, or if it's nappy, or if it's curly, or if you're sporting a fro, or none of that's relevant. But you have to receive the Torah as the chosen, and then you have to choose. The chosen to choose by choice to change. It's a choice. It's a choice. You have to choose to change. You have to choose to want to. And it's all about a choice. I don't care who's around you. Because I noticed that this week as studying human nature. How many of you would agree with me that the people around you can change you? How many of you agree that the people around you can have an effect on you? They can have an effect. The people around you, your everyday surroundings. A lot of people are noticing this because they've been social isolating in their homes for months. Is that people around you can change you. Now, for the positive and for the negative, it can happen. But your people around you, this is why it's so important that you put the particular kind of people you're happy with in your circle. That means close to you. Because if you have to keep that circle tight. You have to keep it tight. Because people around you can have an effect on you, to the point of even changing you, if you're not strong enough, if you don't guard against it. You see? This is why Musa, our forefather, said, be strong and be strengthened. Be strong. He left us with those words, is to be strong and be strengthened. And like HaKohen tells me, and Tada, I appreciate those words, HaKohen, strength after strength after strength after strength after strength. That's how we move. We don't go decrease to the next decrease to the next. That's total poor evidence of some Torah. Matter of fact, that doesn't even exemplify the Torah. Because the Torah is all about increase and blessing and benefit, right? So if you look at your life, you physically got to examine your life and say, well, let me look. You got now. Listen, if you can't be honest with anybody, you must learn to be honest with yourself, and you must realize that inside of you is self. That's the beginning of knowledge. It's to realize that inside of you is self. Inside of you is God. And when you really understand it, you realize that you are God, and you and God are one. Woo-wee! That's heavy, but it's true. Because the Master said, I'll never leave you or forsake you. I will never leave you or forsake you. So what does that mean? He's always with us. So wherever you go, He is. If you have embraced the Master, and if you have embraced the Master's way of life, which was based upon what the laws of Moses say. At the end of the day, if we put it up, big capital T, the Torah. So, the Torah will indeed change you, won't it? Now, it's a good change. Now, some people don't take too kindly to change. Some people are not willing to change. This is why, I've never been a fan of numbers anyway. I just never been a fan of like, oh, how many people are here, how many people are not. I am a fan of big numbers when it comes to money. I love big numbers. I'm a fan of big numbers when it comes to family. You see, God and HaKohen. So it's very important that we understand. What we need to understand is that regardless of how many people get it and don't get it, that doesn't matter at the end of the day. My desire is that all of you listening to me via YouTube or listening live in this room is that you get that aha moment for yourself. And you realize that life isn't about running after a religion, but it's about running after the things that you desire for yourself. And falling under some proper precepts and processes that's going to help you get there. That's going to aid you. Because our Torah is about life. So what you need to ask yourself when you're dealing with self and you're in your meditations is you need to do an assessment of your life and say, well, how am I living my life? Am I happy with my life? Right now, there's a lot of people not happy with their life. They're depressed. How many of you seen the jobless and unemployment numbers that keep coming in? I'm a numbers man. I love some numbers. Because at the end of the day, what do we know about numbers? They don't lie. You see, numbers don't lie. See, there's a lot of people that lost their jobs, man. A lot of people are unemployed right now. And I don't know if it's just me or just San Antonio, but I'm seeing a lot of store physical, buildings like empty. Like before, these shops used to be, chock-a-block and there was no leasing space. Now there's a lot of just empty buildings now. Brick and mortar, Mishpahah, let me just tell you, brick and mortar is going away. I hope I'm not busting anybody's bubble. Well, I don't hope, but my desire is not to bust your bubble. But if you in brick and mortar, you might want to second guess your business, your business plan. Brick and mortar is not where it's at anymore. Everything as you see now is going digital and virtual. So that's the bandwagon that you need to jump on. Get your children in IT. Get them in IT, man. I'm telling you. Daniel, a.k.a. Torwork, said, now just shut down everywhere, all these local shopping plazas. Yeah, I'm seeing that too. These big malls that used to be so popular, man, they I'm like, wow, they're shutting down. Why? Everybody's ordering online now. Now they realize Corona made them see that you can get your groceries online now. I didn't know that. I didn't know you can get your groceries online and have them delivered. I didn't know that. I was like, wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So we must prepare for what's ahead. And actually, we must, as the people of the books, be 2-3 steps ahead of things. See what you desire for yourself and where you're going to fit in. And also, in the back of your mind, always look to provide a service behind it. Because Torah is great service. It does great service to folks, you see. Yeah, L110 said, I saw that too. Big mall in Indianapolis shut down. I'm like, wow, amazing. So it's not just me. Everybody else is seeing it too. Around the country. Brick and mortar is going away, Mishpah. It's going to be like the dinosaurs. So then what's next? You need to get, I'm telling you, it's virtual now. Digital. Been watching my business news and what's coming out and these big companies and what they're saying. Any of you paying attention to that? They're telling most of their employers, their employees, look, permanently you're gonna work from home now. I was like, what the heck? Because now businesses realize they can save money. They don't have to send you to Silicon Valley and pay Silicon Valley money for you. They can keep your butt right at home, get the same productivity out of you, and don't have to pay you Silicon Valley salary because everything's so high in Silicon Valley. You get it? So from the business standpoint, people, CEOs are saying, wait a minute now. Corona has taught us some things. We need to learn from this. So you're going to see a lot of people now going to be working from home. What does that mean? Think about the services that you can get in doing this. Think about the internet and how it can take you places and do things for you. Steer clear of the steer clear of the brick and mortar. That's my advice to you. Guard against doing anything brick and mortar. It's not going to get you anywhere. Yael 110 saying they're saying that even the productivity is going up. Well, if you're around your family, for the most part, it should go up. Daniels, aka Toll Walker, says they even have apps to measure your pant size with your camera, and you purchase the perfect pair of pants or jeans. I saw that too, Daniel. I was like, wow, what a great business plan. What a business idea that is. You don't even have to leave the confines of your home. Isn't that amazing? That is amazing. The ingenuity that's going to come, you're seeing it, that's coming out of all of this Corona mumbo jumbo. There's a lot of great ingenuity coming out of this. A lot of businesses are going to start up behind this. They're going to be very successful. Why? It's because they're looking ahead. They're not looking back, they're looking ahead. Remember we talked about the new normal. The new normal is going to be something. But you've got to be prepared for it. Be prepared to do what? To be prosperous during this time, Mishpah. And what Torah, enough said. What is that dealing with? Is that to keep Torah at your focal point. I know all of you may have had some understanding of Torah before you came into, and sat at the feet of the Kohen. But do you see the difference between not having a Kohen to get instruction from and having one? There's a big difference in it. I'm blessed in the fact that when I came into the Torah, the Imhoch, my mother wisdom, took me right to the Kohen. A.K.A. Daniel, A.K.A. Tor Walker, I wrote that down just the way you said it, night and day. You know how they had that game, See and Say? I would submit to you for the Torah, you need to do and say. Do and say. Because when you do and say, it's like night and day. Do and don't say. Just do. And then the saying will come later, because other people will say many things about you. That's going to do what? That's going to what? Give esteem and publish the name of the Most High. Because you're in service, you see. You're in service to the Most High. How do they see that? By your actions. Like, wow, that's a Torah keeper. Or like they told Yael, woman of the tent. That woman is a Torah following Jew. Baruch Hashem. What a great compliment. Thank you for affirming what I do, not what I say. Because doing and saying is like night and day. Some people say Torah, some people do Torah. What category do you want to put yourself in? Some people say they're in the Torah, while other people just do Torah, you see. And then they say, well, I don't even know what to do. I don't know how to say. I don't know. Because, you know, all of you are just a sayer. There's no doing behind you. No execution. The chosen to choose by choice to change. You got to choose to want to change. I don't care who's around you. I don't care if Moses is sitting right next to you. You still have to choose to want to change. To conform to the Torah. Or like we say when, you know, someone is inducted into the Commonwealth of Israel, to take the yoke of the Torah upon you. And believe me, that yoke is light. And the burden is very easy once you truly embrace it. But you see, you know why the yoke is heavy for some? And the burden is heavy? Is because they embrace it one day and the next day they don't. And then 2 days later they're not embracing it, and then another day they want to embrace it. Or they just embrace it upon how they feel this particular day. Torah to me is not a feeling. It's not an emotion. And it's not a religion. It's a way that we live our life, family. And through physical presentation, it's going to manifest itself, not for the evidence of you, but to give esteem to the Abba, and other people going to evidence you by what they say about you. Wow, he's such a giving person. Wow, he's such a compassionate person. Wow, he's such a humble person. Wow, he helps me so much. Wow, this man fears God. Wow, this man loves God. Wow, this man loves other people. Wow, this man doesn't condemn anybody. Yael Wonderton said they didn't even know they knew it. Another C word, connect to the Kohen. Connect. That's crucial. That's crucial. If you don't connect, then who do you say that you are? The do and say, you're just the say without the do. Because you can't do right without the Kohen. You see, your righteousness is going to be kind of like helter-skelter, neither here nor there. Helter-skelter, whatever they say. Daniel, a.k.a. Torah Walker, saying, I had my ZZs hanging out one day, and a couple of years ago, I had a woman literally stop and say to me, you shall know them when you see them. And she said, you know that God, the God of Israel. I was very humbled by that statement. Wow. Baruch Hashem. Wait till you guys have Christians coming up to you wanting to give you things. Because they realize when they bless you, they'll get blessed by the God of Israel. That's going to start happening too. And you men with your ZZs, you just wait till women are just clamoring to grab hold of them ZZs. And be under your covering. Because they understand what kind of man, what kind of righteous man that is connected with those ZZs are. Baruch Hashem. So these are things that we must consider going forward, Ms. Bahar, as I begin to celebrate and prepare for the celebration of the Feast of Weeks. Remember, and I'm going to say this again as Judah, don't come to any of our festivals empty-handed. Remember, don't come to any of our festivals empty-handed. This festival, you can go and shop and do what you need to do. You can exchange monies on this day to do the necessaries that you need to do to get what you need for your big festive meal. Torah is king. So believe me, we're going to have a kingly festival, kingly feast here at my Beit for sure. And this is my son Nachshon's first Feast of Weeks. So we're going to make many great memories on this end as well. And I want to thank you all as family for continuing to embrace the Torah. More importantly, here's a question I have for you. Can you embrace the Torah without embracing the Kohanim? That's a question. Can you embrace the Torah without embracing the Kohanim? That's almost like saying, can I keep the Torah without Moses? about it. Think about that for a minute. Can you embrace the Torah? Yeah, remember we talking about the do and say? You can say you in the Torah all you want. Daniel says, I learned I had to keep them tucked in because she was married, and of course I had to ask in order. I asked in order to want to learn. You have to have your husband go to the Kohen in the gate. Oh, indeed. Think about that question though. Can you embrace the Torah without embracing the Kohanim? That's heavy. That's heavy. So when I talk about the family under the umbrella of the Torah, think about this for a minute. Look at how many so-called Torah followers out there have no clue about the Kohen in the gate. Don't desire to know about the Kohen in the gate. Don't desire to really understand, what they're supposed to be doing and how they're supposed to be doing it from the instruction of the Kohen in the gate. Think about that for a minute. That's a hefty question. So I submit to you, if you don't embrace the Kohanim, how are you going to embrace the Torah, and vice versa? The two are entwined together, you see. Yeah, El-110 said, can you embrace the Torah without supporting the Kohen? Well, again, you would definitely be, as the law as a lawgiver, you would definitely be in non-compliance, because the law says what? Is to make sure that you never forsake the Kohen in your gate. That's the law. Not the letter of the law. I'm giving you the law in black and white. If you forsake the Kohen in your gate, you are not considered Israel, or you're in total non-compliance to the Torah. Who would want to reject the Kohen in the gate and consider himself Israel? That right there is hypocritical. Think about that for a minute. That right there is hypocritical. Devorah says, since today is Shabbat, no cooking, and tomorrow is the festival week, can we cook our festival meal? You sure can. Festivals, Devorah, you can fire up and cook whatever you're going to cook for your meals. No problems whatsoever. No problems whatsoever. Devorah, any more questions on that? I would encourage you all to have this in your library as well. The Feast of Elohim, the Yahweh, the God of Israel. Get that book on the festivals and how we keep them. That's an important book to have. It's a great book that will really give you instruction on the practicalities of our festivals and what they mean today. The Feast of Elohim, the Feast of Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel. That's important. That's a very important book for our festivals and the practicalities of our festivals and how we keep them. Very, very important. Very, very, very important book. Add to your libraries, Mishpachah, and you listen via YouTube as well. So we're going to close it up here, and I wish you all a great festival weeks ahead. Any questions going forward? I just want to celebrate the Torah. I'm all about Torah. Torah's my life, man. Torah changed me. Torah totally changed. Torah is what I was looking for. What's that song? Who sing that song? But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Who sings that song? I used to listen to that song all the time, like, yeah, you're right. Because I was hopping from here to there to everywhere. And I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But guess what? I don't sing that song no more. Oh, to top of that, all of them say that YouTube. YouTube. I'm a big fan of YouTube. But again, I found what I'm looking for. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. Because I found what I'm looking for, Mishpachah. So it's very important that when you find the Torah, that you embrace it. Because I found what I'm looking for. So I'm not like you too. I'm not still singing that song. I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Because I found what I'm looking for. And now I just have to continue in it. Because Torah has brought me from strength to strength to strength to strength to strength. Baruch Hashem. And as I stated earlier, and I'm gonna, because, of our festival, I must put this out. I'd be remiss if I didn't. Do not go against the Torah. Do not go against the Torah. Torah meaning, do not put yourself at angst with anybody that's in the Torah. Don't do. I'm putting this warning out for you again. Don't do that. Do not do that. because you're doing yourself a very bad disservice. And you'll bring all kind of bad things your way when you try to come against the Torah or any God-fearing person that upholds the Torah. Don't do that. Whatever you do, do not do that. And that's just a warning out there for the family. Forget those that don't understand and are in ignorance. You guys are clued up. Your family members. Do not go against anyone that's in this Torah. Do not put yourself at angst with the God-fearing Torah followers in the family. Just a warning out there. It's a warning. So, be warned. You have been told by Judah. Be warned. You have been informed. You listening via YouTube. You have been informed. Oh, well, are you threatening? I'm not putting any, I don't threat. I'm just stating the facts. And the facts is that you don't go against the God of Israel. You just don't do that. And you definitely don't mess with his children. You just do not do that. You're going to put yourself in a bad situation. You're going to go from weakness to weakness to weakness. Let me just tell you. Don't do that. Oh, I'm not trying to scare you. I don't care what you call it, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, I'm just putting out a warning to you. I'm telling you to guard yourself against doing that. Because whether you believe that these people really existed or not, doesn't matter at the end of the day. This Bible stands and it's real. This history is real. These were real people. Moses was a real person. So I'm just going to put that out there to the family. I'm talking to the family. It's important for you to understand that. Well, as we go into our festival of Torah, because I'm going to stand with the Torah, I'm going to stand for the Torah. I am the Torah. So just understand that it's this Torah that gives me strength. It's Torah that strengthens me. And I'm going to continue in it from strength to strength. So on that note, I'm going to wrap it up. Torah, enough said. Quit saying you're in the Torah. Begin to do it. Begin to execute. Then you'll see your night turn into day. Doing will bring you day. Saying will leave you in darkness. You say this, you say that, but what are you doing? Doing brings you into the day. Doing brings you to the light. Saying will leave you in the shade. Who wants to stay in the shade? Nope, I want to be in the light. I get more of my vitamin D. And last time I checked, being in the sunlight kills the corona. So, Brukashim kills the viruses. So again, sunlight has its benefits, doesn't it? But what do you benefit from the darkness? What's the benefit in that? Think about that for a minute. So on that note, we'll wrap it up. We'll turn it back over to Hakohim, and I wish you all a great festival ahead, regardless of when you celebrate. If you're with Hanuk's calendar, Baruch Hashem, and if you're with the Gregorian calendar, you following the Jewish calendars, then so be it. Enjoy your festival, but really get an understanding and know what you're celebrating. Lift up this Torah. Torah was given. Receive it on a deeper level, and take your reception to a deeper level. Increase your energy capacity to where you can begin to manifest more things for you in desires and your wants and your dreams and your visualizations. Baruch Hashem. On that note, back over to you, Kohen. We'll wrap it up. Shabbat Shalom and Shalom Shalom to all of you. Great festival ahead. Have a great festival weeks.
Shabbat for that, Rabbi Kefa. Okay, so unless there's any questions, I'll close the room. It's midday over here, Eastern time. So until next week, I'd like to say have a great Shabbat and a great week ahead. Celebrate the festival and execute the Torah. Receive the Torah and execute it, and you'll do well. Shem Yahweh. Shalom, shalom.